Glen Babb, South Africa's controversial ambassador to Canada, is leaving the job after being in Ottawa for only a little over a year. A brief announcement gave no reason for his move. Babb became well known for denouncing Canadian economic sanctions against South Africa and for criticizing media coverage of his country. He'll be replaced by a career diplomat who's worked most recently in the South African Foreign Ministry. A study group in the Canadian Armed Forces has concluded that women should not be allowed to fight for their country. Right now, all jobs in the armed forces are open to women except combat jobs. The study says that's the way it should stay, or our fighting forces won't be as effective. The study also concludes that the ban on homosexuals should continue. The report now will go to the government in about a month's time. Then the cabinet will have to decide whether or not to accept the recommendations. They're getting ready to go back to work at the Gaynors meatpacking plant in Edmonton. The workers voted by a 3-2 margin yesterday to accept the company's offer. And that means the replacement workers hired to fill in will lose their jobs. It was the presence of those replacement workers that helped to make for such a long and a bitter fight. Now with the Gaynor strike settled, our labor specialist, Alan Garr, reports much of the pressure's off the Alberta government to change its labor laws.
Strike at the end sometime with us leaving.
For hundreds of replacement workers who were promised a permanent job, there was nothing to do this morning but walk away. Peter Pocklington, the man who made that promise, broke it when he settled with the strikers. But nobody in the Alberta labor movement is cheering about the deal.
Unfortunately, the kind of labor legislation we have and the political climate forced the workers to absorb tremendous sacrifices.
It was a lousy deal there.
Well, sure.
It took the provincial government more than 6 months to intervene.
I think most Albertans were getting fed up with the length of time it was taking, and that enough was enough, get back together.
It had become the most notorious labor dispute in the country. The names Pocklington and Gaynors came to mean everything that was bad about Alberta labor relations. Under Alberta law, just going on strike meant there was no guarantee you would ever get your job back. And after the first day of any strike, replacement workers could be brought in. In these circumstances, strikers exploded.
One with a sign and tell us.
Court injunctions to severely limit pickets were issued and ignored. It was a recipe for law-breaking.
Back off!
For the past few weeks, an Alberta government committee to review labor legislation has been traveling the province, holding public hearings. And one proposal they hear more and more is one to ban the use of replacement workers. Today they heard that view again from a former employment minister in the Parti Québécois government. Quebec has had that kind of legislation for almost a decade.
The adoption of this kind of legislation sets a standard of intelligent, normal, and positive labor relations, which ends up by being profitable for the whole society.
But it's a solution that Alberta business will not accept.
That would be bad, and it would be bad for the reason that it would discourage investment capital from coming into the province of Alberta.
Gaynors is not the longest labor dispute in this province. There's one that's dragged on for more than 2 years. And Gaynors isn't the only dispute that sparked violence. But for an Alberta government caught between failing political popularity and a failing economy, putting an end to this dispute was key. Now that Gaynors and Peter Pocklington are out of the headlines, the pressure to make major changes to Alberta labor law has been greatly reduced. Alan Garr, CBC News, Edmonton.
And that's The National for Monday, December 15th. For CBC News, I'm Knowlton Nash. We'll have regional news later. Now, the Journal.
Gaynors workers, back on the job but not with a smile. We'll talk to this striker and this strike breaker. The great delegator, the hands-off presidency under attack. Can the Regen style survive the crisis? And the slippery slope to success. Stars gather in Banff to give the Canadian Olympics a boost. The Journal with Barbara Frum and Bill Cameron.
In Edmonton, as employees of the Gaynors meatpacking plant file back to work, they're concluding one of the longest and bitterest episodes in the history of labor relations in this country. For 6.5 months, some 850 workers took turns walking the picket lines.
They had hoped that when it was over, they'd be able to earn as much as meatpackers in other plants across Canada, but their boss, Peter Pocklington, dug in his heels.
Where's it going to stop? Do we finally have to, I suppose, again, be bullied into taking what they are demanding, or do I say enough's enough?
Pocklington said enough's enough and started bussing in non-union workers to keep his plant open. The strike soon turned ugly.
No buses to get in. A war is a war, that's it. They want to kill us. I'm not scared to die. I'm going to die right there on the street for everybody.
Pocklington was called a union buster. Labor organized a national boycott of Gaynor's products. Still, there was no settlement. Then Alberta Premier Don Getty intervened. He finally got the two sides together. The result, Pocklington agreed to get rid of his non-union workers, and this weekend, the union agreed to go back to work without the raise it was looking for.
In Edmonton, we are joined by Deborah Gunville, one of the striking Gaynor's workers who was voted to go back to work, and by Brian Smith. He crossed the picket lines to go to work at Gaynor's throughout the strike. Brian Smith, should she be mad at people like you who did cross the line, who did take those jobs?
No, I don't think so. Shouldn't be.
Why shouldn't she be?
We kept the plant going, and we kept it in very good shape while they settled this dispute. And as a group of people, I feel we did a good job. And of the 850 to 900 replacement workers, they will get jobs eventually, most of them. So we want to work together. We don't want to, we don't want any more violence.
Ms. Gunville, is it going to be possible to work side by side? It's not at all clear how many of the replacements like Brian Smith are going to be working right away, but for any that are there, you're going to be able to stand it?
I guess we pretty well have to. We have to go to work. You have to work with people every day. You're spending 8 hours of your every day with these people. We have to understand that they also need jobs, and when they do come back to work, they'll be in our union. I guess what we're going to have to try and do is try and make them understand what our union is all about and what we were fighting for, and hopefully they will understand, and when the next contract comes up, they will stand with us instead of trying to split our union.
Now, were you feeling that diplomatic when they did go in and you were on the picket line?
No, I can't really say that. I watched them cross the picket line, and it's very hard to stand out there 2 hours or 4 hours and watch people take your jobs when, you know, it could be your jobs. And actually, they could have had the job before the strike went on, and I don't see why they didn't.
Sorry, I wanted to get the other side of it from Brian Smith, because Mr. Pocklington says he feels real sorry for you, the amount of abuse you took. Did you take a lot of abuse?
Yes, we did. Absolutely. We took a lot of abuse in our homes, our cars, our vehicles, and just going to work every day and having to cross a picket line. It was a very stressful situation.
What's that like? I mean, one hears the word scab hurled at people like you. What does it feel like on the receiving end of that, and how do you justify it? How do you deal with it?
Well, first of all, we're not scabs. We never belonged to the union. Therefore, legally, we're not a scab. We're a replacement worker. And I'm sorry, how do we feel about that? I mean, it was a job.
And you feel that you're to be pitied in this situation as well?
Pitied? No. I think, if anything, commended.
But I suppose that some of the workers might say that they would have gotten a better settlement sooner if people like you weren't willing to take their jobs.
No, I don't think that's an issue at all. I think the thing is, Peter Pocklington wants to run an efficient, profit-making plant. And that's all there is to it. We were willing to work at that. We were willing to do those jobs for the wages that he was willing to pay us.
Mrs. Gunville?
And we felt...
is snorting away as you talk. What do you want to interject with?
Well, I don't know. We were out there, we had jobs, and there's people that have worked for that plant for 30 years and maybe longer. And I think they've put in their best effort and probably the best part of their lives to that man, or to the Gaynors Incorporated. And I think people that cross the picket line, maybe they fully don't understand what the union is all about. And I think they should try and understand, and if they wouldn't have crossed the picket line, actually what we were fighting for was fighting for parity with other working people. So actually we were fighting for them and other working class people such as myself.
Mrs. Gunville, replacement workers, I don't know if Brian Smith feels this way, think that Pocklington took advantage of them, that they went in there, they were prepared to take your job permanently, and now they're the losers. How do you feel about that?
Yes, I think he did. I think he used two middle-class people or whatever, working people. I think what he did was use each against each other.
But if anybody's to be felt compassion for, you think it's the unionized workers and not these replacement workers, it sounds like.
For compassion?
Yeah.
I guess it could go on both sides because everybody's going to lose to a certain amount. I think I've lost and other people have lost the 6.5 months that we have been out of strike, and now we have people that have worked for 6.5 months and they're going to be out of jobs. So I guess it's hard to satisfy everybody.
Mr. Smith, why did you need this job? Why would you take a job that other people were striking for a higher wage at?
Well, I'd worked in the oil patch for 6.5, 7 years, and I found myself unemployed in April. I had a mortgage payment, and I wasn't about to go on unemployment insurance. And the Gainers opportunity arose, so I took it.
But there are people in the union that also own houses and maybe have lost them because of this strike. And maybe if you wouldn't have crossed the picket line, these people wouldn't be in the jeopardy that they are in.
Okay, let's hear Mr. Smith answer that.
The economic reality of it is those people needed those jobs. That's why they became replacement workers.
But that's
and
what Peter Pocklington
they were willing to
used
do the
people.
job for the wage that Peter Pocklington had stipulated and
but he's
had
using
asked
you.
for. If they're willing to do that and do the job as well, we had 85% of the production levels, and we had, what, maybe 150 to 200 people less in the plant, and we were doing the job. That plant's in better shape today than it was when we walked in, let me tell you.
Mr. Smith, what are you saying, that you who came in as replacement workers were hungrier, better organized, better at the job? What are you saying?
You better believe it, yes, we were a lot hungrier.
Well, they were hungrier, of course.
A lot of the people that I started working with, in the replacement workers that I started working with, a lot of them were pulled out of the Single Mints Hostel in Edmonton. A lot of them were pulled out of the YMCA. Guys came from all over Alberta to get those jobs. Yes, they were very hungry.
Now, were you taken advantage of, as she's saying, because of your need?
I don't feel I was taken advantage of. I worked hard. I had a good job. I went to work every day. And I felt a very good job in the plant. So I enjoyed my time at Gainers, and I believe that if I hang tough, I'll remain there. I'll get a job back in the plant. I really hope I do. And I hope that the union people will work along with us and make the plant a better, more efficient place.
Are you, if you get a job, not going to join the union?
I'll cross that bridge when I have to come to it. Well, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
There's no alternative. If you're going to work at Gainers, you're going to be in the union.
Well,
so if you're going to be in the union, you might as well already start thinking that, because it's a union plant and you have to join it. It's in the contract.
Mr. Smith, you were going to make a point there.
The union did, as far as I'm concerned, and if you can read it in the papers and you can see it for yourself, the union let those people down, and it's time for us.
But are you saying that those people you replaced weren't doing a good job? And
oh, no, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that the market has changed in the meatpacking business, and you have to be realistic. Pocklington's a businessman.
He might be a businessman, but also Fletcher's and Canada Packers are also businessmen, and they paid their employees better starting wage than Mr. Pocklington has. And I don't think our union let us down, because Peter Pocklington said he was going to break us, and he didn't.
Well, I thank you both.
You're very welcome.
When we return, a veteran correspondent on how much the Iranian arms scandal tells us about President Ronald Reagan, the man and his method. And coming up on the diary, Jim and Tammy Bakker with their answer for Heaven on Earth, Heritage USA.
Real special to me. It always reminds me of when you and I first started out. We sure had a lot of love back then.
That's about all we had.
Well, honey, we always had good things to eat on holidays.
Well, that's true.
'cause I get out my Crisco and I do some special baking. I love trying out new recipes. And every year, I find all kinds of new things to bake with all-vegetable Crisco. Looky here, cranberry cherry pie. And talk about a flaky crust. Even my girls are finding great new Crisco recipes. Patsy made these chocolate bonbons, and Peggy made this wreath cake. And Loretta made these raspberry snowbars.
My good.
Honey, quit talking with your mouth full. There's a lot of great tasting holiday treats you and Crisco can make. There's two things that always makes a holiday special, and that's great tasting food and being with the ones you love. Right, girls?
Look for Crisco shortening recipes in your favorite woman's magazine.
Crisco will do you proud, every time.
Here's a brand new outdoor scent in brand new Bounce. Watch.
Nobody puts the outdoors in like outdoor scented Bounce.
Bounce always was easier than liquids. Best for static, too. But what made me switch is this. Wow! It's a new Bounce with a new scent. So outdoor fresh, you can almost see the difference. Switch to new Bounce.
See for yourself. Nobody puts the outdoors in like new Bounce.
Been back for Christmas, the marriage bed, Sunday.
Ever since the Iran-Contra affair broke wide open last month, the focus in Washington has been on the Reagan style of leadership. Known as the hands-off president and the great delegator, Ronald Reagan now finds his style under attack.
It used to be said with pride by White House aides that Ronald Reagan was not a detail man. The suggestion was the president only had time for the big picture, and now there's concern that even that was neglected.
No one in the White House press corps has followed Ronald Reagan longer than Lou Cannon of the Washington Post. He has covered Reagan since his days as governor of California and joins us now from Washington. Mr. Cannon, how are you reacting to this spectacle?
Mixture of sadness and interest. It's sad because it has exposed the downside of his leadership after he was really doing rather well in a kind of painful and embarrassing and personal way. And interest, of course, because I don't think we've seen the end of this or bottom of this particular scandal and crisis. There's still a lot we don't know.
In the very first week, I saw a cartoon. Ronald Reagan is sitting behind his desk and he's saying, "What did I know and when did I forget it?" In your recent writing, you're suggesting that could exactly be what happened. That is really a depressing spectacle, is it not?
Well,
You would not even be in charge.
Well, it is depressing. I think that, on the other hand, it isn't surprising. This is a president who, when he was running for office in 1980, and he didn't do this behind closed doors, he did it on a talk show in Texas, said, "Show me an executive who works long, hard hours, and I'll show you a bad executive." He's a president who has made a virtue of a hands-off, highly delegated style of leadership. And it served him very well in a lot of instances.
Now, does he think he's got a managerial style, or is it just stylish writers like you who think he's got one?
No, it's a sort of an odd combination of probably a natural tendency or weakness and a conscious strategy. Mr. Reagan is a man who tends to believe what he says and says what he believes, despite this Iran arms fiasco. And he didn't know very much when he became a governor. You remember he made his celebrated crack when he was running for governor. What kind of a governor would you be? He was asked, and he said, "I don't know, I've never played a governor." And he when he came into office, he did, after an initial very difficult experience, surround himself with a lot of people, get them to discuss their problems in front of him and take their advice, and then leave it to others to carry it out. So it's both, he is the way he is, both by necessity and by choice, I think is the best way to say it.
Mr. Cannon, you've written that what Ronald Reagan was marketing more than anything else was optimism. If even half of of all of this material continues to swirl around him for the next year or two, what are you going to be writing about the last 2 years of his presidency?
I think that what we're going to be writing about the presidency, the Reagan presidency, is that it's operationally over. And that's too bad, not just for Ronald Reagan, but for the country. I don't see how he gets even the most modest of agendas that he put forth last week. You know, he put forth his 2-year agenda. It didn't have anything of the great things he was going to do in his second term, like arms control or deficit reduction, but even comparatively modest steps, the most interesting of which is this catastrophic health insurance. He's going to have a lot of trouble being able to govern. I think we have seen the last great achievements of the Reagan administration, almost no matter how this turns out.
Mr. Cannon, thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Barbara.
The Journal Diary, December 15th. The people who make electronic equipment have a name for the feeling that comes over people at this time of year. It is Techno Lust, the compulsion to have the latest whatever. If you have Techno Lust, there is now something beyond your compact disc. The latest is digital audio tape. The compact disc was supposed to be as good as sound could get, perfection. Sound recorded by computer that could be played back with 100% fidelity. But not re-recorded by the average Joe at home with his average Joe home stereo. This is digital audio tape, DAT. It delivers sound equivalent to the compact disc. It's smaller and lighter. And not only that, you can record on DAT without all the hiss and noise you get on an ordinary tape recorder. The recording industry is in a flap about that. The industry leaders want the U.S. Congress to prevent it, to force DAT manufacturers to add a custom microchip that would prevent DAT owners taping music from compact discs. They argue that if audio buffs can copy the perfect sound of the compact discs, they will cheat the musicians and the record companies of their rightful royalties.
Any item that you want duplicates of, you have to pay for it. Why should sound recordings alone be the commodity which can be freely acquired with no payment by you?
The DAT makers say they won't cooperate. Their customers might want to make a few copies now and then.
People like to make selection recording. In other words, they like to take a bunch of songs off the different albums that they own and put it together in a collection. What's wrong with that? I mean, they bought the music.
DATs should be available in North America soon. The makers haven't said just when, and they will be expensive. $2,000 for the machine, $25 for a 2-hour tape, which of course won't stop anybody with true techno lust. In publishing, the private papers of 2 writers are to be made public. Etty Hillesum was Dutch, and like her compatriot Anne Frank, she kept a wartime diary. She died in Auschwitz in 1943. She was 29 years old. Hillesum's diaries of life in wartime Amsterdam were published in 1981. They've gone through 18 editions in Holland and as many more worldwide. Now, Pantheon is releasing Etty Hillesum's collected works, including her letters from a Nazi work camp, under the title Letters from Westerbork. Joe Orton's diaries are arriving as well. Orton was a brilliant British playwright. He produced 3 savage, perverse, hilarious satires during the 1960s before his death at the hands of his homosexual lover in 1967. There will also be a film biography of Orton next year to be called Prick Up Your Ears. There was a caribou transfer last week. 35 animals caught in Newfoundland to be shipped south to Maine. It was a noble idea and a partial success, but it turns out now also a partial failure. Almost a third of the animals died during the operation. These were the caribou caught and transported to Maine. It seemed sensible enough. There haven't been caribou in Maine for 80 years, but 11 of the animals died during the project. One was killed by a tranquilizer dart that penetrated too deeply. Another died of exhaustion. Most of the rest were victims of stress. They died of fright after spending much too long cooped up in a transport truck. Newfoundland biologist Shane Mahoney was a project leader.
The animals were taken from the wild, put into the truck, and then every time a new animal was released to that truck, the animals inside perceived human beings coming forward with another animal, and the animals inside the truck could not respond normally, which is to run. They had nowhere to run.
When the Caribou got to Maine, 2 of them were so weak they had to be given fluids by injection to deal with their dehydration.
If I was to do it again, I would capture the animals, revive them very quickly, deposit them in an enclosure, in an impoundment, away from very much activity, give them a week or 2 weeks possibly of feeding, of exposure to humans under less stressful circumstances, and then I would have a truck come up and load those animals without drugging unless it was absolutely necessary, and then just quietly ship them on their way to wherever they were going to go.
All the same, if nothing else goes wrong, there should be a new herd of expatriate Canadian caribou in Maine within 5 years. Jim and Tammy Bakker are the hosts of the evangelical television program and network PTL. They have their critics. They also have hundreds of thousands of followers, and they have enough money to build their own extremely large theme park.
I say praise the Lord, welcome to Heritage USA.
Heritage USA is in South Carolina, and it is enormous. There are 2,600 people on staff and a payroll of $500,000 a week. The Heritage Grand Hotel is a grand hotel at $100 a night. No ashtrays on the table, though, and no bar. The amusement park isn't finished yet. When it is, it will be snappier than Disney World.
Now we have about $160 million worth of completed construction, but we have plans for about $2 billion, B-I-L-L-I-O-N, $2 billion more dollars worth of construction on these 2,300 acres. So the best is yet to come.
Mom and Dad, in here, cousins and...
Heritage USA was built by television, and its centerpiece is a television studio. 2,000 people in the audience, Jim and Tammy front and center. Tammy Bakker sings and cries and sells her own line of cosmetics down the street. There are Bible history classes and prayer services every day. And on Tuesdays, baptisms in the pool. The Bakkers like bigness, obviously. This is the daily Passion Play, set in an amphitheater big enough to hold a replica of Jerusalem. 30 performers, 200 extras, thousands in the audience. You too, if you like, but book soon. The Heritage Grand Hotel has a 90% occupancy rate. And that's the Journal Diary for December 15th.
When we return, Jerry Thompson spends a weekend with the rich and famous in Banff.
Mazda now goes further than anyone in backing the quality of all its cars and trucks. Nobody has ever demonstrated this much confidence in what they sell. For a limited time, Mazda offers a full 5-year, 100,000-kilometer, no extra cost extended warranty on all new Mazdas. We call it the Leadership Warranty Bonus. Others may follow. Mazda came first.
Come home for more. Come home, Home Hardware brings you more.
Come home for more during Home's More for Christmas sale. Corning's 3-piece microwave set is the perfect Christmas gift at just $44.99. Get a holiday value on Fuji videotapes, Beta or VHS, just $7.97. And the full line of Duracell batteries from $159 a pack.
Home Hardware, home of the handyman. Share the spirit. Share the flame. Share the glory. Share the flame. Share this moment in our never-ending story. Come together, heart to heart. Everybody has a part. Share the flame. Share the flame. Share the flame.
In Banff, Alberta this past weekend, it didn't matter much what sort of star you wanted to see, Brooke Shields or Arnold Schwarzenegger or Dr. Ruth Westheimer, because they were all there. In fact, there may have been more stars per yard than there were fans to see them.
They were in Banff for a special downhill race and auction to raise money for the Canadian and American Olympic ski teams. The Journal's Jerry Thompson has prepared this report on his weekend with the rich and famous.
This may come as a startling revelation, but stars do not always arrive in long black Lincolns. Isn't that Susan Sullivan of Falcon Crest? Why, yes. And getting off the other bus, here's Brenda Vaccaro. Hi. So good to see you, darling. Why buses? Because this is a packaged, stage-managed media event where rich and famous celebrities are hauled en masse around the ski slopes of the world for noble causes.
Good to see you. The excitement builds.
The noble causes this time are Canadian and American Olympic ski teams.
King of celebrity pro-ams in the world.
The king of celebrity pro-ams is Marjo Gortner.
For everybody, come on, you are all invited.
Marjo Gortner is the famous evangelist turned actor and professional event manager who organized this extravaganza. With the help of Calgary's Olympic mascots and the Alberta Government Tourism Department, Marjo has brought together enough Hollywood celebrities to fill the Merv Griffin Show for 2 years. There's Cliff Robertson, movie star, and Mr. AT&T.
You're very best.
Across the room, Captain Kirk, otherwise known as William Shatner. This looks like Ed Begley of St. Elsewhere, but maybe it's the lead singer from the band America.
There you are, Daniel. Thank you very much. Thank you. You too.
When I met Richard, he was sick.
Oh, he was sick when I met him, too.
That's right.
Susan Sullivan of Falcon Crest.
But he was very vulnerable.
Last year. He was
very vulnerable.
Susie Chaffee, former world freestyle ski champ, turned full-time celebrity, meets the man who skied down Everest, Yoshiro Miura. And then there's Bruce Jenner, gold medal winner from the Montreal Olympics, who will compete in the celebrity ski race and cover it for Good Morning America. All the celebrity media are here, including Robin Leach, who admits to shameless puffery in pursuit of the rich and famous.
You know, I practice silk pajama journalism. I'm not ashamed of it. This is voyeurism. This is gossip journalism. It works. It's successful. And if the public says we don't want to see this rubbishy glitz anymore, but we would like to see Attack the Rich and Famous, then I'll be there saying, right, how dare they exploit the masses?
And what do the masses who wait outside looking in think of all this glitter?
Who are you looking for?
Well, just anyone from Shoes or who else here?
Is Alan sick down there?
Is who?
Alan sick?
You mean you haven't recognized anybody? It'll be time to look up. Oh, come on. What are you gonna tell the folks back home when you get home tonight? They're gonna say, hey, who'd you see? And you're gonna say, Brooke Shields, Big Arnold Schwarzenegger. I lie. You're lying. Why? I don't know any of these people.
Not since the roaring 20s, when Lillian Gish, Mary Astor, and John Barrymore graced these hallowed halls, as the old Banff Springs Hotel felt like a castle catering to the creme de la creme. And it's all part of the build-up to the 1988 Winter Olympics to be held here on Mount Allen. What this amounts to is one huge public relations shindig, a chance for everybody to show off. Not just the stars and celebrities, but it's a chance for Calgary and Banff to show off their new Olympic ski hill. And it's a chance for southern Alberta to make some news that has nothing to do with falling oil prices, nothing to do with dangerous chuck wagon races, and nothing to do with the West Edmonton Mall.
The racer's ready.
There they go, ladies and gentlemen. Joan Benoit on the outside. It could be anybody's race. I can't see them. They're going down and over the lift. Call it to me, please. Coming over the hill. They're neck and neck is Joan Benoit, Steve Kennelly. Around the stretch, I can't
Marjo Gortner or Susie Chaffee. It was hard to tell who would win the gold medal as the most shameless show-off on the mountain. She dips, she twirls, she makes designer ski clothes, she sells chapstick on TV. She makes fitness videos and will tell you about it at every opportunity.
Oh, I've got something, a movie prize for the event.
Hey, all right. What do you
Susie Chaffee, ski workout.
Just point a camera anywhere near Susie Chapstick and it's showtime. But it's not all fun and games. There's serious drama here as well. A grudge match between Susie and Mary Hart of Entertainment Tonight.
If I could somehow manage to tie her right leg to her left wrist, I think I'd have a chance.
How did this all get started?
Well, fortunately, by some freak of nature, I beat her in a tennis tournament about 3 years ago. And we were great friends until then.
And now?
Now she wears sequins, she wins all the races, I defer, and still say I'm going to beat her.
We're just trying to cut it with when you finished off the race.
But Mary kept getting distracted by the requirements of big-time journalism.
And to help unveil the new winter resort, the government of Alberta and the Olympic Organizing Committee invited some of the biggest names in the entertainment business to come frolic in the snow.
Then, out of nowhere, Susie Chaffee appeared to confront her rival.
You want to get it over with. You want to just beat me and get it over with. Well,
we
that's fine for you. I think we should just grudge each other, you know, forever.
Can I borrow some chapstick?
Racers ready.
For an event that produced precious little in the way of hard news, Brooke Shields gave us all a thrill with this attempt to kick down one of the gate flags.
Is she all right?
Now let's see that again on instant replay. Ooh, all the grace of a highway snowplow. But hey, it's only her 5th time on skis, what the heck. And just to show she's a good sport, Brooke faced questions from hostile reporters with a big smile.
What do you think is your most embarrassing moment on skis?
I just had it. I think I just had it. Actually, I did just have it.
Meanwhile, back at the grudge race,
How do things stand between you and Mary Hart now?
That bitch? No. No, Mary, I couldn't find her. I wanted to get even the score. We just may have to wait till the next Celebrity Pro-Am. I just... You know, it's
You mean
like...
you're going to leave us with a cliffhanger?
As it were, yeah.
Well, if you feel good, say yay. Well, if we're going to give up some money tonight, say hallelujah.
Bruce Springsteen donates money to food banks. Elizabeth Taylor does benefits for AIDS research. And Marjo Gortner raises money for ski teams. And that's what the final gala dinner was all about. $125 a plate and a celebrity auction to raise funds for the Canadian and American Olympic ski teams.
I want you to make a lot of money for the Olympics.
Among the items on the block, a week of sex therapy with Dr. Ruth Westheimer.
And I will never say if they used it or not.
So it's a secret sex therapy session.
Right?
I understand. We got 5,500. Somebody goes 6. What do you give me 600, 600, 336? 55, 6,000 back there. Oh, they want it. They want it. 6,000 is bid. You must have some unique problems, sir. Hallelujah. Woo! I got 6,000 once. 6,000 twice. Are you all through? Jerry, you got it for $6,000. Come on down. Go shake his hand. Dr. Ruth is coming to meet you. Woo! 5 from Martin Bunting. We got a 5 and a 5 and a 5 and a 3.
Mary Hart donated an E.T. jacket with an invitation to visit the set of Entertainment Tonight.
Somebody give me 6. Wayne Rogers bids $5,000. He knows the value in Hollywood.
By far the most glamorous prize was this full-length silver fox fur coat donated by the Hudson's Bay Company with a little help from Brooke Shields. It went for $8,000.
Now Wayne Rogers is hot.
So what does this all add up to? Well, it adds up to more than $100,000 for Olympic skiers. What does it all mean? Well, best leave the last word to Susie Chaffee.
So you understand how show business is. This is glitz here.
For the Journal, this is Jerry Thompson on the ski slope of the stars.
Tomorrow on Midday, a feature interview with one of the great jazz singers, Peggy Lee, and the story of Vernon and Valerie Kruger, the husband and wife team who are canoeing from the mouth of the Mackenzie River to the tip of South America.
This has been the Journal for Monday, December 15th. Please stay tuned now for regional news, weather, and sports. I'm Bill Cameron.
I'm Barbara Frown. Good night.